Welcome to the Astute Prosperity Podcast with your host, John Way. Join us as we interview successful business owners and professionals, uncovering the strategies that fuel their personal, professional, and financial success. Discover what it takes to thrive.
All right. Welcome, welcome. So we have Mr. Jay Maranan on the show today.
Yes, sir.
Welcome, Jay.
Yes, John, thank you so much for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here. Honored to be your first guest, and looking
Yeah,
forward to getting into it.
yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Thank you for agreeing to be on the call again. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So, we've known each other for a while now, and I think I'll sort of throw some questions at you and see if I get to know you on a different level actually today, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. Hell yeah.
Cool. All right. So the Astute Prosperity Podcast. We're kind of talking about real estate and multifamily in specific. And so what I wanted to kind of get from all the guests is initially, what does your portfolio look like now, and what kind of property and locations?
Yeah, cool. So my current portfolio is consists of a blend of things. So single family homes, small multifamily, large multifamily. Total count unit count right now is 548 units. And just continually looking ways to scale and grow. So some of these are long-term rentals, mid-term rentals, short-term rentals. I have a lot out of state, spanning across California and the Sun Belt states. So Bay Area to be exact in California. So Northern California, San Francisco, San Antonio, Texas, Garland, Texas, Decatur, Alabama, Oklahoma City, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So just kind of spread across the Sun Belt states and the West Coast.
Man, you're all over the place, man.
Yeah. I'm trying to diversify a little bit, and that's kind of where I gained my experience, was just kind of finding where it was a good landing spot for me, and just trying to build out.
That's awesome. That's great,
Yeah.
man.
Thank you.
That's actually a great looking portfolio. How long have you spent to kind of get to that portfolio?
So I I got intentional about 2020. So when I
Okay.
got my first when I first got my first tenant was in 2020, January.
Yeah.
Um
That
and
was
that
right at the beginning of pandemic, yeah? Or right
Oh
before
man,
it?
right right before, it was like the perfect time. So um the house I was living in, I turned it into a multifamily, small
Oh,
multifamily,
yeah.
and it was right at the height of COVID when I started looking for my next property, which was in South San Francisco. And that's right when all the realtors was like, we don't even know if we can show the properties, and
Oh,
the
yeah,
world was
yeah, yeah.
changing. The world was
Yeah,
changing.
yeah,
But I also knew that, I kept hearing the Warren Buffett, when everybody's greedy, be fearful. When everybody's fearful, be greedy. I kept hearing that in my head, and I'm like, is this that time? Is this the window?
yeah,
And at the time, to be transparent, I wasn't making much.
yeah,
So every move I had to make was very calculated, and I had to really put some thought into it, and be okay with the outcome.
yeah,
And but by that time, I had already been like religiously listening to podcasts and audiobooks, and just trying to educate myself. There was a
yeah,
change in my life and a shift, and I was like, okay, there's something more that I need out of life, and
yeah.
it was the real estate was kind of what I landed on. And yeah, so I started to kind of focus on that, and then it just kind of, from there, it just kind of went up. I just got locked in. I kind of honed down my purpose and my reason why I wanted it so bad, why I wanted to work so hard, and what kind of outcome and what kind of life I wanted. And that's what keeps me driven, is I always think about the end result, and I'm working towards that every day, right? 1% better every day.
That's
And
right.
and it kind of started to there's a delay there. There's a lag, of course, but I am so happy as you know, it's not where I'm at, it's where I came from to get where I'm at.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just I just had a really great ride so far, and I have way more to go, and I have great people around me that have contributed to my success, whether directly, indirectly, just conversations and inspiration, and fast forward, I'm 500 plus in,
Man,
and
nice, man.
yeah, so it's good, and I have a little bit of a rounded background where I've managed rehabs, in my own backyard multiple
Nice.
times, out
Yeah.
of state, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, mid-term rentals, raising capital, syndications.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm interested in it all, and it all really fascinates me, and it fires me up just to not only like growing my portfolio, but also making an impact on people's lives while I'm doing it,
Yeah.
especially people that come from a similar background where, we didn't come from a wealthy background. My family's
Hmm.
immigrants, and
Hmm.
we just didn't really talk about financials and anything like that. So
Right.
being in a position, I feel like I'm the one in my family to kind of open everybody's eyes to seeing something more than just W-2 work, and just existing,
Yeah.
right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to just exist. I want to do things that I want to do. I want to apply myself. I want to try. I want to reach a higher potential that I know I'm capable of. We all are, actually. Like, we all have greatness in us, and we need something to help us realize that. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's life experiences. In my case, it was a life experience that woke me up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm very grateful to have made it this far, and I'm excited to, like, every year it's always something new, and every year is always a year of growth, and that's kind of where I'm at, right? So multiple
Awesome, dude.
properties, and just continue to grow and scale and inspire and be inspired myself.
That's a great, like, it sounds like there's a lot to dig in there actually.
Yeah.
So now, big picture wise, like, you mentioned real estate, like, why real estate? Like, why do you believe in real estate? Why do you believe in multifamily, or why do you believe in the things that you've done in the past few years?
Yeah, no, great question. So I think I had my first aha moment with real estate, and this is why I went all in on real estate. Was it was right it was just like 20 so around 2015. I had my first property, and this was right when the rates were going like sub 4, sub 3. They were coming down, and I started to get all these letters, right? Cash out refinance, equity, and all these letters. You know how the lenders start reaching out to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
at that point, I had no idea what that meant. So I was just like, okay, out of curiosity, I think that is a skill and power, is being curious, always being curious, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I was just curious, like, what does this mean? So I just started calling all the lenders, and they were like, oh, and then that's when I learned the equity is the delta between what you owe and what the value of the property is, what you owe on the balance and what the house is worth, and the
Sure.
bank will lend you a certain percentage. So I said, okay,
Yeah.
if I keep my mortgage the same, how much can I pull out and how much can I
Yeah.
cash out? They
Yeah.
said 50,000. And then at that point, that was my annual salary, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I'm getting all this in like one time
Yeah.
instead of it. So I was like, okay, so that was the first moment where I was like, I think this is how people make money in real estate. This is one
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
to get the cash from the equity.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I used that to rehab the house, not really focused on return or anything like that. I was just like, I want a nicer house.
Yeah.
Um, and then the rates came down again, and I pulled out cash again. And I was like, oh, so this was when I was like, I've never seen this type of lump sums of money like this before. So this is where I was like, okay, there's something here. I need to pay more attention and figure this out. So that was like
Yeah.
my aha moment, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so that's when real estate became um, something that I focused on.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we talk about multifamily, why I really got excited about that was because that property that I was talking about, I turned it into 3 units, right?
Oh, okay.
And this was right around the time when COVID was happening, right? So then I had I filled vacancy. I was 100% occupied, and then during COVID, one unit went vacant, and I was like, okay, but I was still cash flowing, right? And I was like, okay, this is I'm not in a hurry. I'm not really
Sure.
aggressive in trying to fill the vacancy because I don't know
Sure.
what's happening with the market, and
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
all these restrictions and things
Yeah.
with COVID, and
Shut down. Yeah.
yeah, I was just like, let me I'm cash flowing. I don't want to be like greedy or anything like that. I just this is fine. I'm okay with this. So I was
Yeah.
vacant for a year, but I was still
Yeah.
cash flowing, right? And
Yeah.
and this is honestly, it was like I'm pretty scared through this whole time because this is my first
Yeah.
time doing all of this.
Sure. Yeah.
Fast forward, I bought my first out of state property where I used private money. I did a full gut rehab, some
Wow.
development work. I turned a 3-1 into a 4-2. So that was
Oh,
my
wow.
way to force the value.
Force appreciation. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes. And I had it occupied, then the tenant left, but they left at during fall. So that's where I
Yeah.
kind
Bad
of
leasing season. Yeah.
that well, that was a learning lesson for
Yeah.
me. And
Yeah.
I didn't account for new construction coming on market. So I had a hard time filling, right? Filling the
Uh-huh.
vacancy.
Yeah.
But that made me realize, like, I have a 3 unit over here. One unit went vacant. I'm still cash flowing, but I have a single family home over here that's vacant, and I'm paying for the mortgage 100%.
Yeah.
So that's when I started to think, okay, multifamily. Now, if I buy another property, I started to consider 2 to 4 units because let's say I have a 2 unit. If one unit goes vacant, I'm only paying for 50% of the mortgage or half of the
Right.
mortgage, right?
Right. Right.
So then I started thinking, what if it's 10 units or 50 units or 100 units? So that's when I was like, okay, maybe it's the scalability,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So there's a couple of like points where I want to discuss like other reasons why I like this is because you kind of hedge your risk.
Yeah.
Um, the cash flow is a lot better, right?
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
in my case, if you have 100 unit, if 10 units go vacant, you're still 90% occupied. You're still going to be cash flowing.
Yeah.
So that's where my mind started to go in that direction was like, okay, let me focus on multifamilies. And then on top of that, I started buying up these single family smaller units and my DTI was starting to get shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Uh-huh.
was like, what else can I invest in? Because I didn't want to stop growing.
Yeah.
What else
Yeah.
can I invest in? And there's the DSCRs or asset-based lending that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's the direction that you make sense for me. And just from the other experience that I talked about. So yeah, the cash flow, right? I had one unit go vacant. I'm still cash flowing. So I was like, okay, let me just scale up.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
the appreciation, right? So like just natural market appreciation, but not only that, the forced appreciation.
Yeah.
So like you get something that needs a little work and you rehab and you increase the value. In
Yeah.
multifamily, it's you increase the rent or you
Yeah.
rehab a unit, you increase the rent, and then you just multiply it by the door count, right? And that value is it swings so big in comparison to a single unit, right?
There you go.
Um, you have more control of that. Whereas like crypto or stocks, you're at the mercy of the market. You just don't know what's going to happen. At least for me, like I'm not like a day trader. I don't really. To me, that's a little bit more. I do like. Don't get me wrong. I do own stocks. I do own crypto. But in terms of like what I'm focused on,
Yeah.
and where what I truly believe in, it's definitely real estate long term, right? And then you have the control, like I was saying, you have the control. It's not at the mercy of the market. You
Yeah.
can force depreciation, you can force the NOI or increase the NOI by increasing the rent, which increases the value.
Yep.
And then at the higher value, you could refinance and take that cash back out, right? And
That's right.
so there's a lot of like benefits and we talk about that's just the cash flow, right? We also talk about tax benefits,
Uh-huh.
tax savings,
Yeah.
right? Bonus depreciation, right? Depending on your circumstance and your situation, obviously consult with your CPA or your tax advisor, but you can take a depreciation, whether it be up front or on the back end on the sale, but there are tax benefits there that you must consider, right?
Yeah.
Um, leveraging, right? So using the bank's money to buy, or raising capital,
Yeah.
which I enjoy also.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so you have a little bit more control, or actually you have a lot more control than other asset class, right? And then you know, o- obviously there's well, when we're talking about multifamily syndications, there's partners, right? So
Yeah.
what another benefit is for those that have money to invest but don't have time or the knowledge or experience,
Right.
they can invest passively, right? They invest for a
Right.
return. So there's just so many different facets to the multifamily asset class, which I love and I believe in. And you can actually see how you can create the value through um, through the business plan of like, executing X amount of rehabs per unit per month, and then leasing them up to market, and then seeing that increase in rent, and then multiplying it to, an annual return. It's just crazy. You can't do that with a single family home or any
Right.
other. So, those are some of the reasons why I love the multifamily syndication model.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
yeah, man. That's yeah, preaching the choir, man.
Yeah, yeah,
For
right.
sure, for sure.
It's hard to debate that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so in terms of you know, the like if you look at a deal, a multifamily deal, like how like you mentioned the different partners, right? So the how from your experience so far, like what are the main ways that like potential partners can actually, make returns on deals? You mentioned
Uh,
cash flow and all that.
yeah. So are you talking about like limited partners, general partners, or
Or both. So general partner and limited partner.
oh, okay. Yeah, so for general partners, there's usually a profit split, right? For each deal. So
Yeah.
common profit splits I see are like 80/20. I've seen 70/30. Um, I think those are most common what I see. So the lion's share would go towards the limited partners, so the capital investors, those that have the money, don't have the time or experience, or maybe want to learn how to get in or diversify their portfolio, invest in real estate. So those folks, they would invest their capital, and the general partners would use that capital to finance the property, to put into a reserve for the rehab budget or capital expenditures is what we typically would call that.
Yep.
um, and then we kind of increase or improve the performance of the property, increasing the cash flow. So outside of that, you get the yeah, so you get the returns for the increase and everything like that on the LP side.
Mhm.
Um, and then on the GP side, you have partners that have specific roles, and they would get a percentage of the profits for their sweat equity for the time that they're putting in, right?
Right.
So you have like a deal finder, somebody that has been in and out of the market, building relationships, having meetings with brokers, um, just kind of really understanding the market in terms of like growth, the potential, what the trends are going, what companies are moving in, just kind of like the overall market analysis.
Right.
They build the relationships with these brokers, and they get their eyes on deals before they hit the market, right? So those
Right.
guys bring the deal, um, so they get a percentage of the profit, right? Uh,
Mhm.
that's for their time, for their effort, for putting the deal together. Then you have people that partners that underwrite the deals, that are really good with numbers, that figure out what the projections could look like,
Mhm.
just really understanding what the financial returns would look like. So they would get a percentage. You got people that are putting the earnest money down that would get a percentage. People that are guaranteeing the loan, because what a lot of people don't realize is that if you're buying like a $20 million multifamily property, 10, 20, $30 million property, the GP team has to have the liquidity and net worth to guarantee that loan, right? So you might have one guy come in and have the net worth to guarantee that loan, so they would get a percentage. Asset managers, so everybody's getting a percentage for their involvement, for their sweat equity, for their time, and ensuring
Mhm.
that the property performs.
Yeah.
So, you know, it kind of shakes out to, you know, you kind of break out the 20% split, the 80% split amongst the people that are involved. So, yeah, so you basically split in the pot.
Yeah. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
So it's so as an investor like that don't that that are just getting being introduced to multifamily, if they're just a limited partner, they would participate on the upside for that 80%, right?
Yep.
So and then that 8% is like maybe cash flow or maybe distributions or maybe sale in the future or refinance. So
Right.
whatever happens, they get that 80% of the profit, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then um, so got it. And then as a aspiring potentially like people out there that might be aspiring general partners, so they want to become a general partner. Like the upside is the take the sweat what you talk about, the split equity, like
Yeah.
the 20% split, and then that would be split however ways whoever's doing the work behind the scenes, and that's sort of 20% on the upside, right? So
Right.
anything you would split 20% of the profit,
Right.
um, and then there's also the the acquisition fee. I think did you mention the acquisition fee up front too?
No, I didn't mention the acquisition fee, but yeah,
Yeah,
the acquisition fee. So that's you know, it's a sweat equity thing, right? You're putting in your
yeah,
time, you're putting in your effort, you're even putting in um money to get the deal under contract, right? So all
yeah.
of that, you know, flights back and forth, just getting out there. So the compensation for that would be during acquisition. So when the property is purchased, a percentage of that would go towards the people involved in getting the deal under contract.
Got it. Yeah, definitely. That's another profit center, I guess,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
will,
So
from
definitely,
the
yeah. The AQ fees or the
yeah,
acquisition fees or the percentage of that.
yeah, yeah,
Quarterly distributions. I know a lot of GPs invest in the deal too as LPs.
yeah,
So getting a percentage of the your involvement on the general partner side, on the limited partner side, the quarterly distributions, and then during the refinance or the disposition at the sale. So after implementing the game plan of rehabbing all the units, increasing the rent, increasing the value, and then either selling or refinancing at a higher value, that
yeah.
that profit gets split amongst the partners as well. So yeah, that's
Right.
like what you're saying, you know, participating in the upside. So yeah,
Yeah,
we're buying it, but the game plan and the business plan is to increase the value significantly,
yeah,
then refinance it at the higher price or sell
yeah.
at the higher price, and then now we split that pot, which is
That's right.
significantly bigger than what we did when we started.
That's right. That's right. And you also mentioned that there's the tax benefit up front, right? So
100%.
earlier, yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely the bonus depreciation that we have had the pleasure to enjoy for the last few years.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully going forward too.
Yeah.
Hopefully going forward too.
I hear they're trying to pass a bill to bring it back to 100%.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see.
we'll
That's
see. No guarantees, but you
yeah,
know.
crossing my fingers.
Yeah. Right.
Um, cool. So yeah, so for someone who's maybe new to this, but also there's another model of, I guess, acquiring acquisition or getting into the game multifamily is joint venture. So can you sort of maybe help audience explain, like, understand what joint ventures are and how they actually work different than multifamily, like syndication?
Yeah, so so joint ventures are partnerships with I would say like a smaller amount of people in the deal, like so smaller deals, smaller apartment deals, maybe even like single family homes, two, three, 4 units, maybe smaller apartment buildings. where everybody's active. So you have, somebody that's bringing the capital, or maybe multiple partners are bringing the capital. Somebody has expertise in a certain market or certain operational management skills, and they basically, pull in their money, and then they all benefit from the profits generated from their contributions. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's usually a smaller group of people, and they buy property together. Yeah, and then if they dissolve, they could split those profits as well. So it's, yeah, like I said, usually for smaller deals. Um, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Good. Good. Yeah. Totally. I think that's yeah. Uh, for could be bigger deals too potentially, but for people that have a lot of capital for joint
Oh
venture
yeah.
deals, right?
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Um, cool. Well, I think I mean that is I mean that is all the questions that I have for the very first episode. uh,
Hey.
but thank you, Jay. Really appreciate all the knowledge and wisdom that you shared during our session today, and yeah, sharing a little bit about your experience and your build your portfolio and why you got into multifamily and all that. So really appreciate your time and your sharing. So
Yeah.
look forward
Absolutely.
to, yeah, man. Look, best of luck to you, and I know that great things are ahead
Thank you. Thank you.
for
Thank you
you,
again, John, for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And hopefully your audience take something away from this, man, that they could use on their own journeys, right? And
for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, man.
All
Well,
right.
thank you so much for your time today, and we'll see you around.
Yes, sir. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
You've been listening to the Astute Prosperity Podcast. Want to be featured on the show? Head over to astuteprosperitypodcast.com/guest and apply to share your success story with our listeners.